Ooh. Miss Lindsay,
Good evening.
how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm about to be in trouble if I don't find my script.
Uh-oh. Robert, you have absolutely upped your game.
I know.
That is phenomenal. You have absolutely upped your game.
Oh, hold on, let me pause that. Yeah, like I said, we're covering the Maitland news desk tonight.
Excellent. I love it. Come on. I'm right here.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Did you find it,
Brother
Bill?
Van. Sharon, I can't find my script and my printer's not working this second, so I'm going to read it off the screen when we get to it.
Okay.
Say, Michael.
Hey there.
All right. So the gang's all here?
Yes.
Robert, we ready?
Sir.
All right, let's go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to City of Maitland City Council meeting for August 24th, 2020. This meeting is now being called to order. Now, please note that this meeting is being held through video and audio conferencing technology. The deputy clerk, will you please take a roll call of attendance to be sure we are all present and ensure that all council members can hear and be heard.
Councilman Guthrie,
Here.
Councilwoman Hall Harrison, Here. Councilman Thomas,
Here.
Councilman Wild,
Here.
Mayor McDonald.
Here. Okay, in addition to City Council, we have City Manager Sharon Anselmo, Legal Counsel Patrick Brackens, and Assistant City Manager Mark Regentine here with us today. Miss City Manager, you're on.
Mayor, City Council, and those watching or listening to the council meeting. As you are aware, the governor has extended Executive Order 2069, waiving the in-person requirement for quorum. Council member must not need be present as long as sunshine law requirements can be met. We posted tonight's agenda at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, August 19th. A link from the city's website provided access to the agenda and files, and public comment was taken via email and voicemail from the 19th until today at 3 o'clock. As we get to those items, the deputy clerk will state how many public comments were received for each item and by whom. They will be made part of the record of the meeting, although they will not be read in the into the meeting itself. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay, if everyone would join with me in a moment of silence. All righty, thank you very much. Robert, would you tee us up for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boy, I'm going to have to up my game for the next time we do that in person. Okay, Miss City Manager, any old business that we need to address?
Well, one thing we did have, and Robert, if you're ready, we were going to give you an update on the website as it's about to go live. Robert has just a few bullet points to keep you in the loop as to where we are and what enhancements it will provide.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, council members. On September 8th, the city's going to release several new software updates that will significantly improve the public communication, public transparency, and ADA accessibility that we provide. A new city website will provide easier access to city information and meetings, event calendars, employment opportunities, resident complaint reporting, recreational programs, and emergency notifications. The website will allow visitors to customize content they want to see the most from the website. They also can subscribe to email and cell phone text notifications whenever the city publishes new announcements, calendar updates, and emergency alerts. A new fire department website and a completely redesigned public or police department website will be introduced as a seamless package with the website, utilizing the same content management system that city staff were trained on last week. All three websites will work in coordination with another important piece of software. Audio Eye is a third-party plugin that will monitor the websites and automatically correct most content accessibility issues for certified compliance. That's really important these days that we have that compliance. But it also has browsing accessibility tools that include an integrated audio reader. So those with visual limitations, it will actually be integrated in the website to read the website to you. It allows for keyboard navigation and content appearance modification. So in case you're having, you have contrast difficulties, or you have color blindness or other acuities, you can actually adjust the website and the appearance of the website to best suit your visual needs. Finally, the city is going to be introducing new software to streamline the creation and publication of meeting agendas and minutes, while also improving management of public meetings and document delivery to elected officials and appointed officials. This software works completely in coordination with all the new websites and includes its own ADA portal for compliant meeting document publishing. So 3 new websites. There is a new ADA tool that's going to be coming along with those websites. And then we have agenda publishing tool that you council members will be hearing a little bit more of in the next couple of weeks as we provide you your easier access to the new agenda documents.
This is where we all applaud. On three.
I-
1, 2, 3. Yay!
Yeah, it was really important for Sharon that we improve transparency, make it easier to access information on the website. So we're really, really happy to be able to get this out there.
Fantastic.
I love being able to sneak into the 21st century, even in Maitland. Okay, thank you, Robert.
Sure.
Karen?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. All right, let's moving on to the consent agenda. Ms. Deputy Clerk, did we receive any public comment related to items 2 through 5 on the consent agenda?
We did not.
We did not. Okay. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove the item for the police substation.
All righty. We will then move that. We'll then go, Mr. Mike, that will go to decision item. What is that, Sharon? We'll go
2.
to 2. Okay.
2.
All right. All right. Anyone else like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none, motion to be in order.
Councilwoman Hall Harrison,
Aye.
Gotta make them.
Gotta make
Let's make a motion first.
Oh, that is the motion. Yeah. Motion to approve the consent agenda minus number 5.
Second,
Sounds
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Kathy, if you would please call the roll.
yes. Councilwoman Hall Harrison,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
aye.
Councilman Wild,
aye.
Councilman Guthrie,
Aye.
Mayor McDonald.
Aye. Okay. Let's move on to, we don't appear to have any items for discussion at this point. Let's move on to decision item number 1. Miss Kathy?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maitland, Florida, establishing an equivalent residential unit rate to be charged for environmental stormwater utility fees and providing for an effective date.
All right, Miss Sharon, you want to fill in the blanks for us?
Sure, Mayor. So every year we need to reset the stormwater rate. It has to be set by September 15th. So there are 2 more meetings left if you aren't able to come to a decision tonight. During the stormwater budget presentation, I explained that the budget is built on $9.60. That will get you all the way through 2024. That'd be the next 21, 22, 23. 24 is the first time when you would not have enough in fund balance to fund all of the projects for that year. So we talked about fees. I can show you different scenarios, whatever it is you want. There was one email that was received. And so if you want, I did respond to the LAB member who emailed. Hopefully you've all had a chance to see it, and I could share the responses with you if you want, or however you want to deal with that.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments?
Karen, were we looking to get where we need to be for 2023? What was the projected rate? Was it $11.15? Something like that?
So in terms of, I'm sorry, I have to pull it up. To fully fund this year would be $13.90. So if you wanted to eliminate any drawdown of fund balance, it would be $13.90. However, there is over $2.3 million in fund balance right now for a fund that only has $1.3 million in revenues. So almost twice, almost a 200% fund balance compared to what you take in on an annual basis. So it's not a problem for 21 and no problem in 22. It's just something to consider going forward whether when we hit the end of 23, either we can phase the projects in over more years, which, would eliminate the drawdown, or we can look at different rate scenarios. So I don't want to be an alarmist. It's not an emergency for this year. We will get through this year and still have when I say this year, 21, I'm already in next year. We can get through 21 without any issues. We'd still have $1.6 million in fund balance, which is more than 100% of the annual revenues of that fund. It'd be like, having $27 million in fund balance in the general fund.
What a delightful problem to have.
So basically, we're fully funded for the next 3 years.
Yes. Yes.
At the current rate of $9.60.
Right. And then at that point, I think you want to make those decisions before 4 years from now, but yeah,
Right.
at that point, you'd be making some decisions of management intervention on the projects or the services provided, or increasing the rate, one of those scenarios.
Well,
Sharon, if we don't do anything at all, and then we get to 2022, what would we need to scale up to in order to be able to make up the deficit entirely?
3.
Right,
So
sorry, yes.
Actually.
it's
23.
going to be the same. So if you want to fully fund, it's going to be very similar to the 1390.
Okay,
Yeah, so we try to smooth the expenditures in that fund. The only year we have like a big bump is when we buy a new sweeper.
Mhm.
That's a big piece of equipment, or a vac truck. But other than that, we try to smooth the CIP, and then, the operating expenditures are pretty predictable. So
Yeah, I look forward to the time when we can begin finishing some of the projects we start. So, any other questions or comments? We just had the one. Go ahead.
So back to what we were just discussing. We could stay this year and next year at 960. And what did you say? I'm sorry, I was trying to look for some information. What did you say we had to shoot it up to in 2023? What was that number?
it's about 1390 to fully fund it.
1390. So we're going to jump it up $4 to fund it.
It would be one of the scenarios, assuming you don't want to scale the projects down, or,
Yeah, I think we're at a point where, with our stormwater, that we haven't really done anything really major that I think, it's due to be done. Let me put it that way. So I know I would be in favor of getting them all done. Back to what the mayor said, let's get done what we said we were going to do.
We've had projects sitting on our plate for a while, so I'm looking forward to some finishing of those projects. And we have the ability to do that at 960.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything's been slowed down. I think we're moving along at our normal pace. So I'm not sure anything's been delayed, has it?
Well, my thought is to slowly increase it, other than do a big shocker at $4. I mean, to your point, Mr. Thomas, you were saying, a couple dollars here or there is a big hit to people. So if we could slowly increase it, bring it up 75 cents, a month, 1 year, 75 cents another, and slowly, so it doesn't really, probably nobody even notice.
Well, this just, to me, isn't the year. And so instead of having 1.6 million at the end of the next fiscal year, we'd have, 1.9. So we'd just be taking people's money and putting it in the bank at 0.01% interest.
Where are you getting 0.01?
That's at a good bank. That's at a Cayman Island. That's at a Cayman Island.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
So we're just taking people's money, and we can't spend it because we're already maxed out on the projects we're doing. So we're just taking their money and sticking it in the bank.
And you're in favor of just raising it $4 when the time.
I'm not sure we're going to have to do that. I mean, we've got 4 years. So we've got
Yeah.
3 years.
Got 21, 22, 23. We've got 3 years of fully funded. We've got grants to pursue. We've got, timeline schedules. I mean, there's just all sorts of variables just to jack it up now and so have just an even bigger fund balance than the one we currently have and no way to spend it. I don't see the rationale in that. I'd rather keep my money until the city needs it.
Right. I understand that, but you know what? When the time comes or something happens, it's going to be a shocker to people when we say, all right, we need to do this stormwater project or six,
Well,
So-
I don't anticipate, there's nothing anticipated that will happen. If there was an emergency, we could deal with that, but
Ms.
the
Lindsay, go ahead when you're ready.
projects we have scheduled, we can fully fund and still have $1.6 million left at the end of the year. And the only difference is if we raise taxes, we'll have 1.8 million or whatever that number will be. And so I just don't see the point in taking people's money in advance of us needing it.
Sharon, I'm going back to the agenda packet from the budget meeting, and I'm looking at the bottom of page 3 and the top of page 4. And the statement at the top of page 4 says the 2-year plans fiscal year 22 and 23 draw down fund balance by 518,000 and 824,000 respectively. Without an adjustment to the ERU rate, this will create a deficit in the fund at the end of fiscal year 2023. To fully fund each of those years without a drawdown of fund balance, the ERU would need to be increased to approximately $11.50 per month for fiscal year 23 and $16.65 for fiscal year 24.
Okay, so in 24, there's a very large project. So we try to smooth those out. There's 2 large projects in there, and typically we're going to smooth those out before we get there to somewhere between $500,000 or $600,000. We did receive back from FEMA for this fund $168,000 and had some additional projects that we are looking at carrying forward. So those numbers are revised, and in Plan 24, we will start with fund balance. We would not make it through the year without some change.
In 24.
In 24. So
Right.
the 168,000 we received from FEMA plus some additional savings that have been recognized get us through 23, get us through the end of 23. So 21, 22, 23. And then in 24, there's about $850,000 worth of capital outlay, which is a lot in 1 year.
Yeah.
So and there's also a Vector truck in 23, whether that truck could be pushed out a year or those projects could be changed, that we would address as we move forward.
And we will have the opportunity to address those along the way at those meetings as we set those rates.
Right, you'll see the projects that are going to be carried forward as well as what's budgeted for next year, and all of those can get done. But there's a lot.
So if based on the
100
revised figures, what is that number now that we would be seeing incrementally if we do nothing to change the rate this evening? And assuming that the rate stays the same this year and next year, what are we going to actually be faced in order to make that final jump to overcome the deficit, and assuming that we purchase the Vactron on time in 23?
1543.
Wow. What if we were to try and smooth it out between now and then on a scaled approach?
Well, then we're getting back to Mike's discussion about his Lollapalooza deal at 0.1%, shoving it in the bank.
I believe in saving for a rainy day, and I also think that we would be better served to the voters if we are taking pennies now instead of dollars later.
Agreed. I
We're
agree.
taking the same amount of money from them. We're just taking it in advance. So
Well, Lindsay and I in 2023 will still be on council, and I don't know, I can't speak for her, but I really don't want to make a move where we jump up $6 a month and tell people, they had to pay that. You're talking about sticker shock. You're going up. What percentage is that? 70% increase? That's a big increase.
Is it okay if I share my screen and just?
Please, I'd love to see numbers.
Okay. So these are rate scenarios, but I want to reemphasize this. This assumes no grants, which we have been very successful. We've gotten 168 from FEMA, 300 and something from DEP. So this assumes these projects get absolutely no grant money. It assumes we spend 100% of our budget, that we don't have any lapse in employees, that we don't lose any employees, 100% of personnel costs being spent, 100% of all the projects getting done at exactly the budget amount, and that's generally not the case. There's generally something going back to fund balance. But if you want to talk about scenarios for increasing rates, a 3% increase, if you see here at the top where we start with 2020, 2021, it gets you to 1080 in 2024, and it gets you an additional, let's see if I can, you guys are on my numbers here, 633,000 over those years if you start now. So it would balance, 24 and start balancing 25. At a 5% increase, it gets you to 1170, and that's an additional $1 million over those 5 years. And then at a 10% increase, you end up with almost 4 million, and you end up at this $14 an ERU, which means you're not drawing down any fund balance at that point.
And to Vance's question, if we don't move the numbers at all, what is that actual percentage jump that we would be facing? Because that's a real number, so.
Yeah, if I change my screen, it's going to keep changing the screen for you. So let me see if I can get to, so 1543, 960. Again, that assumes there's no savings from any project.
This is a worst case scenario, in other words.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's the right way to put it. Yeah. So percentage. So that's a 61% increase. So a monthly rate going from 960 to 1543 is a 61% increase.
Wow.
All right, anybody, any thoughts, comments?
Share these numbers back up for a second. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the top 3% last through 2025.
Yeah,
These were scenarios that were at the last rate study that was presented. Council had talked about getting there over time. And so these are scenarios that we've done based upon trying to get there over time and not necessarily doing it all at once. So more of a smoothing to get from the 960 where you are to whatever that, I think at the time it was $12.
yes.
It was, costs go up on some of these
Oh.
projects.
So 3% gets us through 2025 on the worst
11.
case scenario.
Mhm. So it gets you to 1110, and sorry, I have to keep moving you guys out of the way. And that's an additional 633,000. So you get through 2024 and you positively, and then you can, get through 2025. I think that 800,000, you still might want to smooth that. I mean, it's a lot in any given year. And it also depends on cash flow at the time. When you budget it to when you spend it, it's not instantaneous.
None of this is cheap.
Well, again, you don't have to make this decision tonight. You have one more meeting. If there's more information you feel like you need to make the decision, I can certainly get that to you before September 14th. But that would be the last chance to make a decision.
Right. That's when we're making a final budget decision.
I'd like to hear from Councilman Wild what his thoughts are.
My thought is that in some ways, if you're going to have, I mean, Sharon, if there was a big project that were to come on, it'd be nice that the big project would pay the bigger fee, right? I mean, so how does, from that standpoint, they start paying when?
So they start paying when they pull their CO. But
Okay.
if it is a redevelopment project, so say Gem Lake or MCC, they typically come on with less ERUs, because when you go vertical, you have more open space than what the old Winn-Dixie had in the old Royal Plaza. So they have more open space. They have less pervious surface than the old project, less impervious surface. And so we don't necessarily see an increase because they go up 5 stories. Stories don't matter,
Right.
just in front of the building. If it's something like Bainbridge, where there was nothing there, then they have a positive impact and they start paying. So, it depends. But a lot of times, if it's a redevelopment, it has less of an impact because now they can't just dump it out onto 1792 like they had in the past.
Right. I mean, here's the thought. I like planning, obviously, and I think planning ahead is smart, and I think getting ahead of a deficit is smart. But I do think that is a tough time to be instituting an increase in a fee when the current status of that fund is sitting on a $2.9 million
Balance.
Is that right? 2.9?
Yes.
$2.9 million balance. I think that's, so I think that what we should be doing, especially in the current environment, is looking ahead, planning, seeing, I think you're plugging in numbers right now, seeing what.
You left it the same, if you left 21 the same and just started these increases in 22 after some of this fund balance is drawn down, let me see where you get. So this assumes that in 2021, there's no increase, you're still at 960, and then you start any one of these scenario, 3.5, 4, it doesn't matter. I just gave some sizing. And that's what it generates. So, you lose a year because it is cumulative. So here you get to 1420, 1170, and 1080. Those are just assuming flat increases. I mean, 1 year could be 3 and the next year
Right.
could be.
So it's not really if, because these projects have to be done. I mean, we're not even talking about in 2025, we probably need to get a new street sweeper also. So, and if something happens with that one, who knows? So it's not if, it's just when. When do you want to ask people for the money? I mean, to increase it. We can slowly do it, or we can do it at one time.
Well, I think we can slowly do it. I don't necessarily think we have to start it this year. But I hear what you guys are saying. So,
Maybe if that's something, and we talked about this in the past, if that's something where you want more public input, it's difficult to get it right now. People have a lot going on and, back to school. And so, I mean, it is something that if you want to consider next year, we could have a workshop. Hopefully we'll be in a better place and have a workshop and get some information out to folks. I feel like they just, obviously we had one comment, it's a member of LAB, so she's aware of what's going on. But I think other residents are busy dealing with other things. So, I mean, if that's something I think we have to tell the residents what we're increasing it for. That's generally what I hear back. Why I'm okay with you increasing it. I just need to know why.
And
okay.
I'm sorry, what's the date that we would have to make the final decision on this?
The 14th.
Yeah, September 14th is our drop dead day.
And on September 14th, I'll probably be on opioids, so um, my
That should be a
I
fun
am
meeting for you.
I don't know where that came from.
I'm having a knee replacement surgery.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
That's the night we get Mike to say yes to everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
You need my, so, you know, if y'all, you know, feel strongly about raising, you know,
I'll tell you what, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that either we table this or make our final decision on September 14th.
Well, we don't need to table it. We just don't need to decide tonight, right?
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know if it was table or make a decision, so.
I don't think that needs a motion, but
Well, is the intent, Vance, really to try to get more input? Or do we need to, the five of us need to learn more?
Yes and yes.
Sharon, the big project, the $800,000 project, that's in 2026, is that?
Hold on, let me, 2020. I don't know if you can see this. So
think
it's,
2025, and we're doing fine at 2025.
you see, it jumps up. I don't know if you can see my screen with the capital outlay. So in 2024, we're going to start constructing the Greenwood Gardens project, which is over 2 years. Then there's a watershed project, and then there's some Park Lake, Gem Lake improvements that are water quality. So, I mean, we can shuffle those around at that time. We just sort of put them in chronological order to make sure we're doing these feasibility, design, project, feasibility, design, project.
We all know how Gem Lake is. So, I mean, that's saying if we get no surprises with Gem Lake right now as it is, we're looking at it. I mean, if something comes up and it's like, all right, well, we need to, you know, treat this and it's going to cost a little bit more. I mean,
well, in 22, if you see here, fiscal year 22,
right.
We're going to do a watershed basin study. That's the new way we're doing these. So we'll do a basin study instead of this big citywide study that has all these generic projects. We're going to study that basin, Park Lake and Lake Gem, and find out what is the most cost-effective thing we can do that, you know, treats the most nutrients. So that's what, this is the way you can see there in blue, Lake Minnehaha watershed basin study. So instead of just generically studying them and then they compete with each other, we're going to focus on one watershed at a time, deal with that watershed, find the best bang for our buck, so to speak, and then design it and then construct it. And that way you won't see those delays where we're designing from something very generic that we find out is not feasible, a la the baffle boxes at Gem Lake.
Yeah.
And what's the cost on the truck that cleans the storm drains? We need to do one in 2024 too, right?
I think it's $381,000
Now,
but you know, again, that we put them in there based upon estimated life, but there's ways to extend their life. We evaluate them when we get close to that year to say, can we push it out another year? Can we, you know, change out the engine if the body's still good? So on those big pieces of equipment, you know, there can be some swing. And on the street sweeper, to your question about it breaking down, we're now keeping the old one as a backup so that we'll always have, you know, two as long as we can.
Nice.
So a spare, so to speak.
It's good to have, especially in fall.
Yeah.
So what does everybody think about holding this off till making a final decision September 14th?
It's going to be a busy night on September 14th.
I was getting ready to say it's going to be a very busy night on the 14th, although Mike won't know it.
I'll be voting for everything, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an Oprah giveaway.
I think we're just avoiding this.
Yeah.
We have the info we need to make this decision. I
Okay.
think we're just.
Then I'd like to make a motion to go forward to do a increase to the stormwater environmental utility fund of $10.10 for next year.
Looking for a second. I'll second that for our discussion purposes. Okay, let's discuss it. What does 10-10 accomplish, Vance?
10 and 10 slowly gets us up to where we need to be with still that possibility of not doing the 10%. I mean, it's still saving us in the long run. What, $1.3 million that we wouldn't take in if we did the 10%, but I think it's where we're definitely going to need to be with everything going on. It kind of puts us in the, all right, if this happens, if this doesn't happen, it puts us right there, and it's only a 50-cent increase. So it's not really, even in these times, I don't think it's really hurting anybody's pocket. I don't know what you can buy. I mean, I can't even buy an iron brew for 50 cents. This was $1. So, I mean, I don't think it's really going to affect anybody.
Yeah, I can't even get a soft drink at Costco for that. All right. Any other comments?
I think, Vance, the problem with the raising of the rate at this time is not being, I think that Sharon is right, or I don't know if this is what she meant, but I took it as this, that it would be nice to lay out and have, it'd be nice that if the plan was, hey, we're going to have to raise rates next year, it would be nice to have the opportunity over the next 12 months to show what the plans are, and then not just throw numbers out in this meeting.
Your plan's right here. It's right there.
Okay, how many people have seen that?
It's what was given to you at the last meeting.
No, I understand, Van. How many people have seen that?
I think everybody on here has.
I'm not talking about members of city
Oh,
council.
you're talking about the general public.
Yeah. I'm talking about
how it is, Mike.
Guys, in the big picture, and I'm going to try to step back and look a little bit longer, broader here. We're going to have an opportunity soon enough to ask our folks in our city for more money for a long-term commitment. Is this the time to go do this now? I don't know. I'm just saying bigger picture, a longer view. We've got things coming to us that will be of long-term use to everybody that lives and pays taxes in this city. So I see both sides of it, but I wanted to have this discussion. So don't be bashful.
Well, it's always when all of these things, I guess any budget, right? Any budget comes down to what does everybody have as priorities. And if you're going to raise taxes, which this is generally going to be viewed as collecting more money from the public, right?
Yeah. Although it was very cleverly sold as a user fee back in the day.
Yeah, it's what are you asking it for? And can you explain why you asked for it? Can you articulate that it was justified and needed for the purpose it was intended? And, I think what Dale's point, or what I would see is that we are going to be needing, there are a lot of things that we need. And I know one of the things that's great, Vance, is that you bring a passion and an expertise on the lake subject. And so it's good to have that advocate, but I think there's going to be a lot of things that everybody could use that could use an extra 50 cents. And I'm not saying that this isn't worthy of it. I'm just saying that there's going to be a number of them. And so if you want to pick projects, we're going to have to make choices, and we're going to have to go out and ask for money. And one way or the other, that's going to be viewed as asking for more money.
Yeah.
So
and we will have to collectively sell that.
And I think, Vance, my point on the information, Vance, is that I think it's always good to have the information available to the public to understand why their money is being spent the way it's being spent. That's my opinion on it.
How are you suggesting that you get that information out?
I think
there's a great.
So I think one would be to have a meeting that's a little bit more accessible than this, because I've had a lot of people, I'm sure you have too, stop me and tell me that they don't find these meetings to be conducive to public input.
I've
Now,
got some ideas.
But that aside, I mean, I know we've put information in the water bills before, right, Sharon? Haven't we used that as a method of communication before?
Yes.
And I think there are ways to do it, Vance.
Yeah, but I mean, Sharon will tell you this too. They take the bill out, they see what's stuffed in there, and in the recycling bin. Hopefully
Okay, but that's then the responsibility though for throwing that piece of information in the trash is on the person who received the information. Not giving that information at all, the onus is on us.
Well,
So-
I think in addition to putting it in there, when things are normal, I think you would want to have some public workshops where they could come and see a presentation on what's been accomplished by the fund, why the money would be needed for, several years from now, and what's been accomplished in 2020 and 2021, not, 10 years ago. And if folks say, I'm not interested in paying more for these projects, then you'll hear it.
Right. And I'm
But
up.
I think you'll get
I mean,
the board.
yeah. And Vance, I'm supportive of building the fund, right? And because I think there's a lot of things that we could have done that for to date, right? And so I'm not actually. I think the idea is sound. I just think that I never like just throwing numbers out. I always think we should have basis for numbers, staff prepared information with why we're picking a number, and substantiate it with actual plans and actual dollars and actual. Okay. And then I think we should then publish that and make that available so that people know what we're voting on. That's my opinion. I mean, look, we obviously, I think we disagree on this one, but
Right.
But that's my opinion.
This
And
is
I
good
appreciate
stuff,
the passion.
guys.
Well, I'm just wondering, are we going to be doing that? I mean, and listen, I'm not being sarcastic. My real question is, are we going to have to do this with everything that we do going forward in the future? Are we going to have to do workshops for everything? You're talking about spending people's money. That there's money spent right there. I mean, they elected us to make these decisions, and I think that's where we're at. I mean, if we're going to do workshops and call people in, and I don't know.
I'm not going to charge for my time to go to the workshop, but
And Lord knows you
That's a
guys
lot.
know how I love workshops.
yeah.
Actually, I've been thinking of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, Vance, I hear you. I think you're taking it's a great passionate position on this. I just don't know that that now is the time to fight this fight. But I mean, if I'm on the other end of it, then I'm on the other end of it. But that's my opinion.
Right. Well, I just want to be, happy to say later on in the future when somebody gets a huge increase, I'm happy to say, listen, I wanted to slowly bring it up. So
Nobody's disagreeing with you. I think the
Right.
question is,
Yeah. There's
also-
no right or wrong here.
right.
yeah, I mean, no one's, I'm not disagreeing with the slowly bringing it up, but
You're thinking in the future, do it, let this year pass and then have just play catch up what Sharon was showing us next year.
well, we were going to play catch up no matter what. I mean, because Sharon, you had originally proposed, I believe the agenda report came out with
960.
putting 960 in the budget. So 960 is what was programmed in the budget as of 25 minutes ago or so.
Yeah. Well, and it's still in the budget until September 14th,
Right. Then it changes.
or it could.
Yeah.
I'm loving hearing y'all discuss this. I'm feeling like a proud daddy sitting listening to his kids. This is a great discussion. This is truly what we're here for. And thinking ahead, thinking further out, thinking bigger picture. Our lakes and our water is so incredibly valuable to every one of us, whether we live on a lake or not. All right. it benefits us all. And so I don't think there's a wrong call here. And I'm just very proud of all of you for the insights, because this is what it's all about. So,
What are you thinking, Lindsay?
Well, I'm looking at, on the agenda report, we've got the years in the past and the rates that we were at. And I think it's worth noting that in 2016, or sorry, in
17.
2016, we were at $9.80. In 2017, we went to $10.39. We then backtracked back down to $9.60. So a change of less than 3%, but closer to 2-ish%.
But Lindsay, you have to know the future. We used to have a fantastic lakes person, and she did, and stormwater person, and she did a lot of things. You know, she was very active. She had a passion for it. And then we went through 2 or 3 other lake stormwater people in months, and you know, I think longest was what, a year and a half. So there wasn't really a lot to be put in. So that's kind of why it went backwards a little bit.
But I mean, if we're going to justify this to the residents, we'd be going back to the rate in 2016. I don't think, you know, I don't know. I think it's important for us to consider the fact that at some point we're going to have to deal with an increase. My concern is that exactly what we're talking about, that we have a lot of other asks as well. We're going to have our hands out for a lot of things. And we need to prioritize exactly what is being said by many of us, that we need to figure out our priorities of what we care about. And I think the water is extremely, extremely important.
It is. Agreed.
And I don't want us sitting in a position where something comes up. We have a project that, you know, is on that list. Any of those watershed assessments, $75,000 or $100,000 each. And all of a sudden we come up with a shortfall because we asked for the new library and we got the new library, and now nobody will pay for anything else. So now we're delaying taking care of our lakes because nobody's going to let us spend money on anything else.
And what percentage is Maitland of lakes?
Almost 30% of this city is underwater.
You know, and I think your question, Mike, about how does new development change the ERUs, and are we going to see any benefit from that? I think that's an important question. And with Sharon's conclusion that in some cases, and that was in the email that went back to Amy, right? I think that's something really to think about, is that we're actually setting ourselves up for a shortfall at the same time. So if we're not going to do something to, you know, I know nobody wants to raise the rates. I will be honest, Mike, you know, that Vance proposing a 5% seems a little overzealous to me. In my mind, I'm comfortable with 3%. I don't think that that's a huge ask. I would even be happy to go down to 10 cents and to try 9.70. I just don't think that we can not do something, knowing that we have the information in front of us that there are things that will need to be paid for, and that at some point we're going to have to deal with that. So yes, everybody has their hand out, and we need to pay a lot of people with a lot of projects. But if we're doing it judiciously.
Yeah. I have no idea. And Sharon, I mean, I look at these, when I look at the history of going from 7.25 to then 860 to then 925 to then 980 to then 1039, I'm assuming there was some reaction to the fact that there was some big increases year over year there. I mean, there's a 20% increase to get you from 725 to 860. And so I don't know if there was a recognition that, hey, we've built up the fund balance. we can now back it down after having significant increases. I mean, if you look at this at a 7.25, I started to do the math, and then
I don't know if you can see, but here's the math next to the graph. So 725 was the original rate in 2009. So we did a study, and that's where it was set. We added one position that year, and it was to cover about $500,000 worth of capital outlay, but it wasn't increased for several years. And construction cost index obviously goes up every year. So, projects get more expensive. So there was a rate study that was done, and based upon that, in 2014, there was a goal to get it to $12 per ERU. So you see, it goes from $8.60 to $9.25 to $9.80 to $10.39. But at that point, just like you mentioned, there was a backlog of projects, and there was still $2 million in fund balance, and so that's when it went from from $10.39 down to $9.60, and it stayed there since then.
I'll step up. I was one of the instigators of that because
Thank you, Mike.
at that $10 and something rate, we had like a $5 million fund balance at the end of 5 years. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So I sort of instituted getting that down to because we were just collecting like twice as much money every year as we could ever spend. So that was the course correction. And I think we're kind of starting to repeat ourselves, but our lakes are in remarkably good shape for urban lakes. I went out and did Maitland yesterday and was amazed at how clear the water was given all the rain and the heat. And so we're taking good care of our lakes, and we can make an argument to the residents that we are. They can see it. And I think there are a lot of things we can do with Lake Maitland and Fort Maitland to get more people on our lakes when we turn that into a park instead of a regional boat ramp. And and we can do that if we're willing to. And so, we've got Sharon, you guys have seen her enough out. She can do budgets and get grants and shuffle things around and things get done. And that hasn't happened with this yet. And we're going to have more information coming with these watershed studies, which are a very good thing to do. Then we can start balancing nutrient removal per dollar spent. But right now, I mean, we've got plenty of time to glide path these rates up. And I think we can start that process next year when it would probably be more palatable, and we can, if we have some asks before then, they're not saying, well, you raise this and you raise that, now you want this. I think given what we're looking at in the months ahead, if we make certain decisions to move forward, I think we're in best position politically to do that if we have kept everything the status quo as far as current tax rates. So that's kind of, if there was any threat to the lakes, and I was an environmental reporter for 20 years, so I know lake biology. If any threat to our lakes, if this in any way shortchanged anything we have planned for the next several years, I would raise it to whatever it takes. But that's not the case. We've got a fully funded fund balance right now going ahead for 3 years, and we've got time to adjust that in the years ahead. So I would think of all of our needs on our ask list. I would put this down low.
I would agree.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I will, I don't want you guys to, me sitting there drinking my pina coladas with Dale on Lake Lily, talking about the good old days on the council, and you guys get hit with a $6 raise or what. I mean, I fully appreciate that, and would.
Like Thomas, you know how expensive pina coladas are? One pina colada is probably 4 months of increase.
Yeah. Well, I'm on a fixed income, I'm one of those old guys. I can finally say that I'm on a fixed income. Even worse, my wife's a teacher, so I'm like ready for the poorhouse. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
And just a reminder, there's a motion on the floor.
Yes, at 10:10. Any other thoughts?
I think there could be. I'm looking. I mean, a 1.03 increase. Yeah, a 3-cent increase, a 3% increase. It's just a question of when do you start it. I mean, I don't think Vance, now's the time to jump it.
5.
The 5, but I understand.
Start on the 14th until the next 14th. Is that correct?
What's that?
You would start it on the 14th until the next year on September 14th.
October
October.
to October.
But look, I understand that. I mean, I think we're saying we're just kicking the can down the road.
Yep.
And so if we want to start it, and I don't know if you can go to 2.5% increases,
Yeah.
and make it work, and just say we're implementing a plan over the next 5 years to implement 2.5% increases. But I mean, I think the idea is that it would be nice that that we didn't have the ups and downs in this. I mean, when you look at the history, if we can say, and if we can instill on kind of a practice standpoint that it'd be best not to move it. It'd be best not to move it down or up until you just sort of keep it at a constant rate of increase. And I was sort of doing the math. If we did it at 7.25 and you just said, hey, we're going to raise it by 2.5% every year, and just kept that as the practice, where would we be at this point? And I don't know where that is. If you did 3 or 2.5% increases year over year to keep up with inflation, you'd say, okay, you get to these numbers, and then you keep adequately funding your balance to be able to keep doing projects.
Well, I'll tell you what, I kind of see that my motion died, so I kind of would like to.
Actually, Dale seconded it.
Yeah, Dale.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
We're still out there.
Right. Sorry.
Discussion.
Discussion. That's right.
That's what's driven this good discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased with that. And Mike, Michael makes a very good point. And so does Thomas. And he's right. He was a big part of taking that rate down because the balance had gotten to be jumbo.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Even at his killer 10th of 1%, return he's getting. But we're so blessed to have our lakes in the condition that they are today with what we have been doing. I'm pleased that we even have a choice for this to be a lower priority item. We will have higher priority items soon enough. So, any other comments, questions? Hearing none. Miss Kathy, you want to call the roll on the motion?
Councilman Thomas,
Nay.
Councilman Wild,
Nay.
Councilman Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hall Harrison,
Nay.
Mayor McDonald.
Nay. Okay, let's do it again.
Okay, then I'd like to make a new motion. And to Mike's point, I don't even think this will be 2.5%. I think this will be like 2.2%. But I'd like to make a motion to set our stormwater environmental
You already do. Right.
fee at $9.80, 20-cent increase.
And the reason for the 20-cent increase is just because it's 20
To Mike's
cents.
point, go ahead and start, doing a small increase of that where, we can say, all right, we're in 2 years, we haven't really done, we're only bringing in at that amount $400,000 instead of 651. So it's not a big hit to people, but it still gets us where we need to go if needed.
Do you want to get on the train that Michael was talking about a 3% every year?
Well, he was saying 2.5.
Well, yeah, whatever the number is.
Yeah, that's why I even made it lower. I said 2.25. It's going to be whatever 20 cents is. I think it's even less than 2.5%.
What are you putting in, Sharon? You're putting in just a fixed number of
2.1%.
Okay.
2.1%. That's even lower than what you were talking about.
It generates $28,000 in 21.
Not even 600,000. Yeah, 563,000.
Well, I have to go all the way across.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right, we have Vance's motion. We have any other thoughts about it, Mike? Vance, your thoughts are just going 20 cents so we get to a 2% bump, 2.1% bump. Is this something that we can continue in 22, 23, 24?
It makes it a
Getting
lot
back-
easier when you get down to those years, I think, to make those calls and to be able to say, to like Mike Thomas said, listen, we are here, let's bring it back down. Or if we need to, it gives us the flexibility to bring it up without a big, sticker shock to the citizens of Maitland.
I'm pretty comfortable with this 3% number. Does that head us on the train where we are doing that consistently and getting ourselves to where we will ultimately need to be?
I'm much happier with the 3%.
Thoughts, everybody? Ms. Lindsay?
So was there a motion for 980 and no second?
Not
There has not been a second, correct. There has not been a second yet.
And then 3% was discussed, but there's no motion on the 2.1 yet.
Correct.
Unless someone seconds it.
Correct.
So we actually mean 2.1, not 3, right? Or was the motion on 20 cents?
It was exactly $9.80.
Okay.
It was the dollar value. It just
Okay.
happens to be 2.1%.
Got
And
it.
just for clarification, you can't obligate any future councils to pick any number. You do
Correct.
vote on it every year. It's one of those
Right.
fun ones that you get to vote on every
But
year.
I'd be happy for a friendly amendment if anybody wanted to bring it up to $9.90.
I liked it. I'm going to second the 980 just because I like the more gradual increase. I think, but I think there's something to be said for having this be out there, that this is going to need to happen and that increases are coming. I do not think we need to do it in 1 year. I do not think we need to make a statement in 1 year. I think we just need to set a precedent or set an alert that this is going to need to happen if projects are going to be funded in the future.
And the level of service we expect.
Correct. Yeah. But
All right.
in a perfect world, we'd put it off for a year, but I understand the desire to try to get this
To set the trend.
to set the trend. I understand, but this is not, I don't know that anything that's happened this year should be considered a trend setting year. I'd like to,
Oh, yeah, in terms of lakes, right.
no, in terms of the whole world, let's not let anything that has happened in 2020 be a trendsetter. So,
Yeah. Oh, God help us all.
So there's a motion at 980 and Councilman Wild, you seconded that 980, which is a 2.1% increase.
did
Okay.
I sense the need to start moving this along.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, Miss Kathy, if you would call the roll.
Councilman Wild,
Aye.
Councilman Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hall Harrison,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Hey,
Mayor McDonald.
Aye. Okay. That was easy. See, guys? Okay, where are we here? Oh, we've got a decision item number 2. Miss Sharon, you want to fill in the blanks for us on that?
Sure, let me just pull up the item. So this is the police substation renovation. As you are aware, the Chamber of Commerce moved out of the building on the corner of Maitland Avenue and George. It does require some maintenance. It's not in move-in condition. We have repaired the roof. We talked earlier this year before COVID about the police department wanting to move their community policing department onto the east side of town to have a presence, especially if we return to downtown events, they'd be able to, stage there and have a place, a home base, so to speak. Also a home base for people who are on the east side of town that are looking for some services. So this is more of an allowance to bring the building into inhabitable condition and also buy the equipment that we would need for a police substation, desks, servers, running fiber optics so they can connect to our network securely. So that's what this is to get the community policing folks over here. There's about 6 employees. It also helps, we were looking at expanding the existing police station. As you know, our footprint over on the west side of town is very small. There's really no space for public works or police to expand. So we did look at some costs for renovating and expanding the police station. And this was a lower cost option and eliminates the need to do that right away, which was close to about $800,000 to get 1,600 square feet.
Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts?
well, I'm obviously not opposed to that. This just kind of came up and we're facing a lot of decisions, and I was just wondering if this substation should be thrown on the heap with everything else, with sidewalks, with streets, with street lamps, and the other issues we're looking at, or if we should just jump it to the front of the pack. But I just kind of wanted to raise that question. I'm not opposed to the substation. I think it's a good idea. I'm just wondering, given the current situation, what we'll be looking at down the road, if we should delay this for a little bit and include it in the rest of the projects we're looking at, so we can look at it in total with the other things we'll be deciding in a couple months.
Or less?
Or less when I'm doped up. So so anyway, that was the only reason I pulled that, is if we should include this with the mix of decisions we'll be making, or if we should jump it to the front of the pack.
Any questions or comments? I've got some strongly held feelings on this. So y'all go ahead. Well, I think we can all easily agree that a presence on the east side of the interstate is desirable. It always has been. Now, of course, and again, Sharon and I go back to when a police station ended up on the west side. Now, and the footprint that we have out there with Public Works and our Taj Mahal police station. It's a great station, great facility. But at this point in time, I don't think it's arguable that we have a lot of folks here that on this side of the interstate that would love to know that those folks aren't more than a minute or two away. So a police substation has been a huge priority for me personally. in terms of even developments that this council has approved in the past. Am I a fan of that building? Not a chance. But being fair, it is what it is. But it does get us to where we can establish a presence, that is undeniable, that I think the community needs and wants, and the long-term view is what we should have. Is there maybe in the future a better place for it? Maybe. But for the moment, this is what we have. And the alternative, as opposed to trying to do some modifications to the police station on the west side, is just simply not feasible. So, again, I wish we were renovating a better building, but we're not. And I think we will appreciate, and people that we will deal with and talk to every day will be happy that we did this.
So Sharon, I have a couple of questions. First of all, how is this currently budgeted?
So it's in the facilities budget. It's in my contingency. So what we've done is we've put all the facility budget in a contingency, basically putting all those projects on hold if they're not maintenance. So this has been on hold since March. We did repair the roof so that it didn't get in worse shape, because if not a police substation, we still own it. It's not inhabitable because it needs repair, floor work, but it's not a bad building. Like, the bones of the building aren't bad, and we have other space needs. So we put it on hold, but it seems like now might be the time to go ahead and get it done before we have any more damage on the hardy board, the outside, and get moving, because it's still going to take 6 months to get it moving. And if, the thought was we were going to be having those get down downtowns, and that's nice to have like a lit up building, where people could go if they needed something. So that's where we are. It's not urgent, but the police department is out of room, as is Public Works. And so if the police station ends up going somewhere else in the future, as the mayor mentioned, if there's a better place, the building repairs will not go to waste, because we could put parks admin over there. I mean, we could put our inspectors over there. We do have a general need for space amongst City Hall, Public Works, police, and fire. So our 50-year-old buildings are not 50-year buildings at this point.
Yeah. As the level of service expectations of our residents will increase, promise you, the opportunity for space and the versatility of that space goes without saying. So,
well, and the thought was also to get more personalized community police activities. So whether they're on bikes or they're walking around the downtown, it's a different feel in a downtown. And if that's where we're headed, we want them over here somewhere. And that building is our opportunity to not have to start from scratch.
Today.
And I'm with you. I think that's important to have that, the police on bikes and on foot in that area. I mean, we have the Outpost restaurant coming in, the park's going to be completed pretty soon. So there's going to be a lot more activity. The bike ability is big, because a lot of times when people are doing stuff, they're looking for a car to come around the corner. On bike ability, with police on bikes, they just kind of happen to show up. So you don't know they're right there behind you, over your shoulder. So I think, I think it'll be a value. Is it, back to the point, is it the best place for it? No, but it's the place we have, and and it works.
In the past, over the many years, we've done many things. We used to lease in the Seacoast building. That's where our community police was. But those that'll be just as expensive. We'll need to build it out. We still need to buy servers and everything. And we don't own it at the end. We've leased on Maitland Avenue. Our CID used to be at Lake Lily. If anybody remembers, it was in that little detectives building we used to call, right at Lake Lily, to a tree went through it. So as space needs expand, we do move things around. I just think this building won't just serve the police, but whenever, they've found a different home, we'll pull it back into inventory, move people around. It just gives us more city facilities to deal with. And there isn't really another plan for that building. To to even lease it out, we need to fix it up to like a third party.
I agree. Any further, Mike, you have any other questions?
Me? No,
Yeah,
no, I just thought we should have a conversation about priorities, and if this is the council's priority, then that's fine. I just thought we should discuss that in relation to the other things we have coming up, so.
yeah. I'm an advocate for the presence in this part of our city that we don't have today. Any other comments? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the police substation on 301 North Maitland Avenue. Or the renovation to 301
Right.
North Maitland Avenue for a police substation.
I'll second that.
Michael, second. All right, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, Miss Kathy, if you would.
Councilman Guthrie,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hall Harrison,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Councilman Wild,
Aye.
Mayor McDonald.
Aye. Okay. Let's see, reading my script here. We don't have any discussion items at this moment, although I might, we'll slide on down to council reports. Anybody have anything they want to share with us?
I have two things if I can.
Of course you can.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if I can make this big enough.
Not that again.
Yeah. You gotta look at this again. Again, no, I'm not asking for any action on it. I'm going to send it to you so you guys have it in a PDF. But here are all the cuts that have been made. Green means I put them in the system. Blue means I haven't input it yet. And we did get some additional revenue projections from the state that were positive. So as of today, we're $55,000 positive. That would mean $55,000 going to fund balance at the current millage rate.
We're still
I don't think
we're still on
seeing
your
screen.
ERU website. We're still on your
Yeah.
ERU website, which
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
I think we
so-
should now propose a 2.2134.
Let me see if I can. Let me
I'm
see.
looking for a second.
Let me see if you can see it. Can you see it now?
Yes, very
Yes.
small.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It was on my screen. I don't know why you guys couldn't see it. So at the proposed millage was 4.5353. It's actually 663,000 positive, which means at the higher millage, you could add back projects. At the current millage, you're at least balanced to the tune of 55,000 positive. But I know we want to talk about all these cuts.
Yes, we do.
Or should I say holds? I don't want to say cuts because
Yeah.
they're on hold. They're not, these are not projects that we think don't need to happen. These capital projects do need to happen. So say, for example, community boardwalk design, which is designing the wider boardwalk through the community park. If you think that's a priority, you'd be able to add it back in because we have 55,000 to the positive. So that's, I think, sort of the process that we'd want to go through. So I want to send this to you in advance so you can look at those projects.
Great idea.
Okay. And like some of them, and I'll mark the ones that you don't like. Some of these cuts are just operational, like our insurance number came in, it didn't change our insurance. But some of them are actual, Stabelia Beach, Homer Huff bathrooms, GIS, sidewalk milling, streetlights, things we talked about. So I will send this to you in maybe some version that I don't know if I can get it to the point where you're able to manipulate it, but at least if you know what scenarios you want me to run, I can do that. But
Sharon,
Yes,
on the,
definitely
on
be
the ones
helpful.
that are less obvious on your list there, could you give us a little bit of a short blurb description for those two if you're
yeah,
able
I can put
to?
something over
Yeah,
to the side. Sure.
That'd be good for me
That'd be
too.
really helpful. I'd appreciate that.
Yep,
Thank you.
I will do that. Yes, I will. I could either put notes or put it over to the side.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And then the only other item I have is we left our site selection workshop without actually coming to a consensus on the library site. There were a lot of different opinions, so I think Maria's going to be getting with you all to try to maybe have another workshop where we start from, I mean, we've all seen the report. If there's anything else you need or you want to meet one-on-one, we can do that. But in terms of time, I'm assuming maybe next week would be okay. This week is probably hectic with school and everything.
I'm a big advocate of this workshop.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. Although, so I did a tour of the library last Friday, and I do think, and I definitely know we got to discuss the library, but I do think we need to put it in a larger discussion. My opinion is that if we start talking about moving the library or keeping the library or doing whatever, it has a domino effect on other projects and other plans for the downtown. And I think we should start, and I mentioned this, but I don't think I did a very good job in the last meeting, but I do think what we need to do is look at this long term and look at this as far as, okay, we're going to do this with the library, then we're going to need to do this, and we have a vision for that. And I think we should be doing this all in connection with a longer term plan for the city. I mean, just for example, I mean, and it's just even, and this is minor, right? But we were talking about money and budgets, but we've talking about how the library is deficient, it's not safe, whatever, we need to do this or that. But there's a lot of people that potentially want to keep the building or do whatever. So if we move the library and we spend the money moving the library, well, then what do you do with the old building? And even if it's on a temporary basis, what do you do with the old building? So then you're gonna have to spend money to rehab the old building, and then what are you gonna do with it? So even if you're gonna move the library, you're still gonna potentially have to spend money on that old structure, and you don't want to spend money on that old structure if it's gonna be part of something else and you haven't planned for what that's gonna be. So I do think that what we need to do here is not just look at the library in a vacuum. I think we need to look at the downtown as a plan, downtown planning as a whole. Think about if we move the library. I mean, I think, Lindsay, you brought up some good points about just walking. If you move it to this location, it's going to have the ripple effect of needing to have better, potentially walking
Biking.
paths, whatever, to and from that location. And how do you work with that? So I just think that we should look at this in total and view the downtown as just a core, because I don't want to get so pushed to making the decision on the library that we forget about what it would have as far as other effects. That's just that was my opinion after.
I totally agree. And I would really like this to be a meaningful thing where we have constructive, meaningful public input. Sharon, how are we doing on being able to get Zoom to accommodate the public to be participating?
So we have that module, and I will be using it with the Charter Review Committee. They will be my guinea pigs. So, and I will poke some folks to go ahead and sign up as attendees. That's what they're attendees. So we can try out that, because that is what I'd like to do for the 14th, the meeting on the 14th. So Charter Review is meeting the 8th. They're aware they're guinea pigs. And we will try it out and make sure it doesn't seem that difficult. It seems like it should be handled easily. And the only difference is you all become panelists and they become attendees. So it's a little bit more like an educational use, but they get to listen. So they don't have to go to YouTube. So they get a registration code, they can listen. And then when you get to public periods, they can raise their hand, and then Robert and I can unmute them. They get their 3 minutes. That's it. They can, mute back up. So I'm sure it'll go fine on the 8th. It doesn't seem that complicated. I've been doing it with my family members. They've been attendees, several of my webinars, but I think that'll definitely give people the ability to participate. And like I said, the charter review is one where public input is required. I mean, you can't have a charter review in a vacuum. You're supposed to hear from the public. And if that works, then that's what we'll apply for the 14th.
So,
then you guys that'll be the first meeting where you'll be able to take that live. Now, that comes with some risks. It's live.
So are we at the end of this workshop? Do we have any decisions that or moving forward? So to me, the main questions are: do we need a new library building as opposed to the existing one? I have my answer after touring that place. And then the next question is, where would we put it? And then when would we have a ballot? When would we take that to the voters? So if we're going to engage in a sort of this long process, and it would seem March is out of the picture for a referendum on this. And that was initially my thought, is we would go out in March, just put some urgency and focus on getting this done. So if that's not, if that's not the, if we think that that's not the time to put in the ask, or if that's rushing things, then so be it. But I've always had some sense of urgency. That old building, you walk through that and there's no sprinkler system, and the exits are problematic at best. And so you're going to have Winter Park putting up this Taj Mahal, and we're going to have this mass exodus across the border. To me, there is some urgency in dealing and getting this done and packaging it in a way that would be sellable to the public. I think it's on us to decide where the new library should go, and then the public input on what do we want in the library. And what programs and how big. So that's, and I'm probably the minority here. I understand the bigger picture of downtown, but we're talking about where to put a library, and I'm not sure it needs us to whole master plan downtown. I think we just need to decide the location and move forward. So that's kind of where I'm at. And
So the city,
I just don't want us to just sit around and talk for 4 hours and then have Sharon kind of walking away and saying, well, what was that
Then
about?
I guess you better show up, Mike. All right, who else?
so I hear the need to do something with the building, but I also don't. I mean, Mike, there's a couple things. I mean, there was deficiencies noted on the lot to the north, Horatio, and whether or not that's a library or if that's the place to put it or not. The idea is that if you don't put something there, then what's the plan for that piece of property? And if you don't keep the library in its current place and you move it to somewhere else, then what's the planned use of the current library? And I mean, I don't think those are holding the library up. I think that's good planning. I think that's good planning on the part of the city to say, this is what we plan to do, and we're going to have a vision and stick to it. Because I think part of the issue is that for me, when you don't have a plan that you stick to, and then you kind of you start plugging things in because it's what's convenient at the time, you deviate so much from any kind of set plan that then those things get left behind. And so, I mean, part of it concerns me on the whole Independence Lane. When we started Independence Lane, I think anybody who, in my opinion, those get downs were successful. They showed an interest in that kind of walkability of a downtown.
Yeah.
So I want to see that vision continued. And so I want to see that whatever we do is continuing that vision. And so that's my concern, Mike. I get you. I don't want to hold up a library unnecessarily so that we can spend endless time planning. But I do think there has to be a vision put out that then things start to put, the pieces start to go into that vision. Not that, hey, this is the topic of the day. Let's put it somewhere in the downtown and then we'll deal with topic of the day tomorrow. I mean, to me, that's just missing the whole point of having the vision for a downtown that we've been trying so hard. And honestly, I think I see so many people who actually said what they thought was going on with a walkable downtown and things going on there, that Maitland we were really making progress. And I'd hate to see us lose sight of that for, by going one project at a time. That's my thought, but I understand your point, Mike.
I agree. There's momentum here that we want to work with. Go ahead. I can do this all night.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vance. Go ahead.
Yeah, Councilman Wild, to your point about workshops and everything, I think, we have to make the decision where it goes. And then I think we open it up to the public and do workshops safely, however that is. If we have to do them outside, 10 people, whatever, in a circle, whatever, in the new park or wherever, but let them give us what they'd like to see. And you can incorporate that. What do we do with the old building? What would you like to see in our downtown? I think we can incorporate all that into a workshop and just get a feel for it.
And Lindsay, you have any thoughts?
I share Mike's concern over the timeline. I think for a variety of reasons, we need to move quickly and swiftly and decisively. I realize that we have lots of questions that need to be answered. And to Michael's point about, working piecemeal, I 100% agree that we shouldn't be moving one of the chess pieces if we don't know where we're moving another one. And we need to be looking more than one move ahead. I totally agree. So part of the overall discussion of where we put the library does matter with what do we do with the existing building. But I also think that there's a way that we can move aggressively forward to keep ourselves on track to get this library moved, to get this project on the ballot. I think that's very important. I don't want us to lose momentum on that. I think we have to be more creative in the ways that we are asking for the public to give us their input. We have the broad internet at our disposal, and we know that our neighbors are on the social media platforms and are communicating with each other and are talking about the issues of the day. We need to be more engaging with them in the medium that they're using. And that's on us to make sure that we are doing as best as we can to get our outreach to them. We have Robert, who's phenomenal, but we need to do more of what we're doing, because this conversation does need to be in front of our neighbors, in front of the residents of the city, because it's so important. But we also need to maintain a sense of urgency. So I would like to continue on the track of us working aggressively to get measurable goals achieved in time to be able to put this on the ballot for March.
Sharon, sounds like a workshop to me.
Well, I'll just quickly, one measurable goal I'd like to see is deciding on the location, because everything revolves around that. And once we have that, then we open up the process and people come in. I think we have all the information we need to choose a location. I don't know what more information there is. I mean, what happens if we don't go to North Horatio? I think the private market will deal with that question, and we'll work with them with our piece of property. What happens to the old building, that might be so I just think there's a limit to how many answers we will be able to have in a quick enough time frame to move forward with this. Not rushed, but with some urgency, because I think there's urgency involved here. So I would like to leave this workshop with a clear idea of where we're thinking this thing ought to go. And we've discussed this, Adam. We've got consultants come in, we've had reports. I mean, I just don't know what more information that is out there that will say, oh yeah, let's put it there instead of there. I think we probably all have our own thoughts about, what we should do, where it should go. And if we got enough thoughts in one direction, then I'd like to start moving. So that's,
In my discussions on Friday, I asked the question about, timelines and where we could see it. And I think they didn't have a problem with it, talking about doing all the workshops and, put it in an order of things that had to be done. They still didn't have a problem seeing it getting on the March ballot.
I agree with that, Vince. We can do that. It's just, it all hinges on us deciding where it goes.
Yeah, agreed.
Once we make that decision, then the workshops and all that fall in line. It's just that we have to make that decision in a judicious enough time frame to allow the other steps to play out. So we'll be where we need to be in December when it's time to call Bill Cowles.
Well, let me just go one step. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
I just I have no problem making the decision. I walk around and I hear different input. I think it would be interesting at best to say that what we should do is forge ahead to try to make sure we're on a March ballot, and we haven't solicited the community feedback because we say we're the ones who are supposed to make the decision, because I think it's a good way to get a result that you don't want. I think we need to spend the time to get the community input on this and make sure we've done it so that when you actually go out for the support, you're going to get it. And I don't think, Mike, that's going to be a slam dunk, as much as we've now seen the building and we've toured it and we've seen the issues and deficiencies that are raised. I think it's going to take an education of why we think that's important, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to waste the opportunity here. That's my concern, is that you go out, you don't get you don't get the referendum you need. Did you make the shot, Vance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the education process will be when we decide where the library should go based on all the hours and consultants we spent on this.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we go out to the public and I'll say, well, why don't you put it here? And we'll go, well, this is why, and we lay out the 10 reasons why. Why don't you put it here? Well, why are you putting it there? And then we'll be prepared to give them in-depth answers and
so the in-depth answer, though, on what you would say to when I've already been asked the question multiple times, what are you going to do with the existing library?
Well, I'm not sure we'll have that answer, Mike, because we don't know if some restaurateur from San Francisco will come down and go, oh wow, what I could do with that place. I just
that's another referendum.
I don't know. I don't know how we could, ever have an answer for that in advance, because I think that's going to be a question that's the private market's going to be involved in that answer. Maybe we'll be.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Let me do this for tonight, guys. I think we're all agreeing that we have some momentum that we want to sustain. And the sooner we can get together and do this and actually lead and enhance the level of service we can provide to this city, the better off we are. Now, in terms of hustling along to get to a March ballot, that would be fabulous. I'd love that. But we always do have the opportunity to do a mail-in ballot, which we've done before.
Right.
Now, I'm not afraid of that. But I do want us to understand that we are effectively in agreement that it's time to do something. And that time has come and it's here, and we will have to lead. And I can't tell you, and Sharon and I have discussed this already, if we can't find ourselves in a 5-0 position, going out for what we're asking our citizens for, we're wasting our time. Absolutely wasting our time. So we need to find ourselves on the same page, whether we all necessarily agree or not. This is leading the city into making Leona's life better, making Christopher's life better. And it's not so much about what Lindsay or Michael think. We've got an obligation to do this. It's time. So if we get with Sharon, Maria, schedule a time that works for everybody next week. Let's not, and Sharon will be on vacation, so we're cutting into her time, big time.
Not a problem.
Gonna have-
Are we doing it on Zoom, or are you wanting to do it in person, or I just need, Maria needs some guidance. I'm not going to.
All right. If you left it up to me, we would do this in person.
And is
I think it's
lunchtime?
that important and that much more effective to do this as best we can in person.
Okay, well, I'll zoom in on that because I'm going into surgery and I'm not going to.
So, okay, I appreciate that I'm the one who said we need sense of urgency. Let's keep going here. And I totally agree. But I also want to make sure that in whatever forum we are doing this, whether we're doing it in person, whether we're doing it on Zoom, if we're going to hold it in a park and everybody shows up wearing masks, I'm not kidding. Whatever the forum is that we come to, that we have told the public and given them ample opportunity to watch the YouTube videos, to see the reports that we have been given, to have the education to make these decisions. I don't think we should meet before the 3rd week of September, and only just because, as much as I think this is important and we need to move quickly, I also want to make sure that we have absolutely blasted our neighbors and they know that this is coming and that we have people who are going to show up ready to participate.
I agree with you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
I do not. Now, but I understand the input, but I think other comments that we've made, choosing a place, choosing what to do with an existing library building after the fact. Again, these are going to be areas where we need to find ourselves on the same page. We move this back another month, and then we take March out of the equation altogether. Now,
I'm not saying we need to move it back. I'm just saying that we need to make sure we've communicated this effectively. That's all that's what I was agreeing to.
Disagree with you there at all. And I don't disagree with that at all. The idea is that how much, and I don't mean to put this in such, brusque terms. Lindsay, are you looking more for input as to where, whatever we define a library to be, where it goes? Do we want public input on that?
I think that is just as important as input on anything else. I would like to hear from residents. In my mind, I think we really have I think we have two contenders, to be frankly honest, and I'll just say it. I think we have two sites really to narrow down to. We have Horatio and we have Quinn Strong. In my mind, those are the two strongest sites that were proposed to us. I think those are the two sites that have the most flexibility. And I think those at this moment are the two sites that make the most amount of sense.
I disagree again, but go ahead.
I know. But if we put the library on Horatio, we are talking about creating that downtown corridor along Independence Lane. And that can create a lot of fabulous opportunities, but it also has some drawbacks. If we put it over at Quinn Strong, also has some great benefits, has some drawbacks. We need to be able to have a conversation about both of those. And I want to have the residents say, you know what? this is a better site because I can see my kids coming over here and then we'll play at the park afterwards. I think this has more flexibility. Horatio, yes, because I want to be able to go and get a gelato after we go to the library. I want to hear those things because ultimately we're building something that's going to be here until my daughter has kids of her own.
Agreed.
So where does she want the library?
Are we gonna have her speak at a public period?
Yes, absolutely.
No,
Well,
I would encourage that.
Now that gets to be kind of my point, Lindsay, is
Mhm.
that we are considering doing these things for generations, ahead of us. And while we ask people today their opinions today, when they've got their own vested interest, whatever that may be today, have we not got an obligation to this community to look 40 or 50 years down? And to your point, Lindsay, I agree. I want to impress Leona with what we did smart this year.
and I think the placement of the library is an anchor to the city that is both going to drag us down if we don't get it right, but also is going to fix us correctly with the location of the future of our city. So I think it matters.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I'm not sure that we've agreed yet on exactly what a library facility or what levels of service it needs to provide.
Right.
So we've got a lot of discussion here that we can do. And what I was proposing to Sharon and to Maria was exactly the kind of get down and get dirty with the idea of getting five of us on the same page. Because we can't sell it if we're being, and I wish I could think of some better way to put this. I don't want to find ourselves with just a majority vote and then try to go out there to our citizens when we run the risk of being backdoored on Facebook because somebody doesn't agree. We're not all going to get what we want here. But man, we're about to make a monumental, iconic change to this city. And there is no better time. So
if I could try to,
yeah.
Because on workshops, we typically don't take public input. They're usually council workshops. So it'd be more of like a public input workshop is what you're talking about.
I'm not.
You were not. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So they're two different things. Before we get to, and I know I agree with the need for public to come in and look at those sites, and give feedback, but I really want to fully develop what it is we're telling them they're giving us input on, and I don't know that I have that right now. So
I would agree.
Worth having a council workshop to say, this is what the public workshop will look like. We want to hear from them on these things. Then I can work with the consultants and Robert to go, here's our campaign to get information, put up, a web page that gets them the information, shows the conceptual site plans, talks about, we can put the deficiency report out there. Well, it may not be ADA compliant.
May not. Yeah.
But I could summarize it in an ADA compliant way, because I think if they come to a meeting and we have no idea that we're going to preserve the current library building, that'll be a problem, because even the consultants have recognized there's lots of uses for that building. If you take the 1980 stuff off, the kind of icky stuff on the back, and you keep the 1959 wings, and then it becomes sort of like a big, long meeting room. I mean, there's things that can be done. And then you have more parking, more green space when you take the part of the building that has no significance. So, but we haven't talked through all those scenarios. People may come up with great scenarios about, what we really need, or what nonprofit I know could use this space, or Art and History may weigh in and said, we're looking for beautiful gallery space. So even though it's not big enough for a library, it would be big enough for an artist. It's got lots of light. I mean, that's one thing. And when we did tour in there, it's not deficient on light. There's lots of natural light. So I just don't want to have the public come in and then, they feel their frustration that we don't even know what we're asking them, and that, our consultants aren't ready to say, we want to hear from you. What do you think we can do with this building? Because the commitment would have to be, I can't see that building being torn down. I think it would be the end of that referendum, you know.
I can.
I understand, but you want to hear from the public, because that's what I've heard from a lot of people. I'm sure you have, is that inner building, the really nice building inside, the 1906 building, has significance. It's not on the register.
Yeah, that's 1,200 square feet. And you're right. You're right.
The rest of it, 1959, 1985. But so I wouldn't be ready next week to have the public, well, and it wouldn't be enough time to ask the public to come in either. So, I mean, I could start working with the consultants they've given me what they think would be a good public input process during COVID. They've thought it through. And so we could talk about that at the next. I still feel like you all as a group need to definitively say you need a new library.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think we should not spend any more money on consultants without a direction. No, I'm not being
I understand.
mean about that. I didn't know I couldn't find the right choice of words, but I'm not trying to be difficult about this, but I don't think we should spend any money on consultants until we have, I think, formulated the ask, as Sharon is saying. I think we should set kind of the scope of what we're asking for, set forward a course of action that we're going to try to follow and come up with that, because I also think this is just an odd time to be. I understand the need, and I understand the demand for some action on the library, but I also do not know that now is the best time to go at 100 miles an hour through a process. So, I mean, I think there's things that we should be weighing here, and I think we should still go through the motions of the process, but
We get one shot to do this, guys.
yeah.
So-
I mean, Mike, we've seen what, I mean, the Winter Park example that we're all pointing to, that everyone's gonna go to. I mean, that's an example of, I mean, that's caused a lot of divisive positions on that issue, and I'm hoping that we can avoid that.
Well,
And I'm hoping we can.
I think the way you avoid that, Mike, is Winter Park basically went out for the Taj Mahal. It was kind of this open-ended thing, and it kind of grew and grew, and it became the blob from the 1950s movie, and might well be a nice blob. So, who knows? But to me, the way you pass a referendum in Maitland is show that you've been very efficient with your money, that and it's no secret. I like Lindsay's two choices. I've kind of leaned towards Quinn Strong, but I could be convinced on Horatio as well. But you can incorporate CRA money. You can say the apartments you hate so much, you're paying for 30% of it. So, there are ways to do that. And I think if you keep it a reasonable, finely tuned ask, that they'll go, okay, well, I'm paying, $9.5 million. And I'm getting this nice library campus, next to art and history, or I'm getting this cool little more urban library, across from Horatio. That's how you sell things, when you start adding bobbles and adding cost. And
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but I appreciate
that's when you lose referendums, and I can point you to any number of examples where that's turned out to be true. When I was at OCPS and all these other people came in to try to piggyback on their referendum, their half penny, I said, that's toxic, that'll kill it. You just keep it simple and a defined thing that people can see and know that there are cost limitations on it, and to know that they're getting something for 40 cents on the dollar. So, I think we can make both those we can make those arguments, either Horatio or Armstrong. And so, and
Sounds like a workshop, Sharon.
my only thing about the workshop is to create a goal for what we want to have accomplished at the end of the workshop.
I thought I laid that out pretty
We
clearly.
have-
We need to find ourselves with 5 of us on the same page.
I'm with you.
Agreed.
So what is the mission? What we've talked a lot.
So what I,
We've done part of a workshop right here.
what I wrote down, and so I don't know if this is an outline for, but first establish that you all feel like we do need a new library. So, you know, that you all, doesn't mean the public's going to feel that way. This is just your ask to them. It's like, do you all feel like we need a new library? They may feel differently. When you get public input, they may say that's crazy. How does it fit into the downtown plan? And I think the consultants did have the downtown plan, so I think we can show how they felt it was consistent with what was in that plan. But that, you know, it, in terms of, it doesn't take, if it's a bond referendum, it doesn't take away money for Independence Lane or sidewalks. It's not going to hit the general fund, but it may require additional improvements, traffic improvements. So, you know, we can go through that. I don't know if we can put that together between now and next week, but we can try. And then I don't know if the other question is, where does it go? And maybe you want public input on that, but I think, do you all want to be on the same page that we're asking? I mean, we've got a ranking, or the consultants presented a ranking, let me say that ranked them in order, gave the pros and cons. Is that something where when we have the public input, we give them the pros and cons of those various locations, and you take some input from them in terms of their preference? I mean, you can do that electronically, you can do that, you know, via survey. There's lots of ways to do it, but I think I would like to be, for all of you to be on the same page with whatever I do next. It doesn't have to be hiring consultants,
Correct.
but
I mean, here's what, and I don't even know if I want to go here tonight, but I know Sharon, I still have to cook dinner, but I mean, I've heard Sharon, you say that it doesn't take away from other projects, and it doesn't, and I hear what you're saying, but we're sitting here at the same time arguing over whether or not we should or should not raise a millage rate, which in fact raises taxes. But if you go out for a referendum, you're asking for more money. So, I mean, I hear you in the sense that it comes from 2 different pots, but the people who are contributing to each of those pots are the same people.
right. So it is,
And it's
yeah.
the same dollars that are going into those pots. So I hear you that it's not taking away from a sidewalk, or it's not taken away from an Independence Lane, or it's not taken away from a street light. But we are, to that extent, though, we could say, well, let's raise the millage rate to X, and let's just put a bunch of money in a pot for the next 5 years. And then once that's over, we'll build our library, and then we wouldn't have to go for a referendum. So,
Correct.
I mean, I don't know that I don't, again, if we're saying to someone, give me $10 and put it in this pot, it doesn't matter if we're asking for it from $10 out of this Genesis or another. I mean, it's still money that's being thrown into the collective fund for the city of Maitland to spend. So that's I just don't know that people will see it the way of saying, hey, no, this isn't detracting from your X project. And they said, well, then why is that project not being built? I think we're going to have to face that. And people are going to say, we're going to say, no, this is coming out of a special tax fund that we're going to be building our library.
We borrowed money for this purpose.
That's right. And then they're going to say, okay, well then borrow money for the purpose for this purpose. Cause I want to borrow money. That's more important to me. So I think we have to be prepared for those questions, and we have to have good answers, because I think the one thing I've noticed, I'm sure we've all noticed, is that you walk around, you ask 10 different people, their list of 1 through 10 priorities are probably all going to be different. Although number 1 is typically traffic.
Yeah, that's
not
all
now. Not now. Traffic. No one's talking about traffic right now. But 9 months ago, traffic was what we always heard about.
Yeah.
Apartments is number one now.
Yeah.
Well, and I think all of you make very valid points, and that diversity of view is we hold in common the fact that we're going to be asking our citizens for us to invest in ourselves, which we really haven't done in this way in a very long time, if ever. We believe enough in ourselves to invest in ourselves and raise the level of service that our residents can expect from their city. So again, I look forward to a workshop, get with Sharon and Maria when we can do this. And we got a lot of work to do, guys, and we'll have to work together on it. And that, but you know, given that the payoff is so big here, and we all see it, and we all know it, and we all believe in it. This is one of those times where we're just going to have to lead and ask and hear what we're being told. But again, I'm impressed. I'm worried about impressing Christopher and Leona a lot more than I am Michael and Lindsay. So, respectfully.
Thank you.
Anyway, anything else we want to address during this? You've covered what I was interested in speaking of anyway. So, was a workshop.
Now I'm
So
ready
let's do this. All right. Anything else we want to address tonight? Because I can hear Mike. I can hear the kitchen calling Mike. All right.
If we're gonna do a workshop, lunch workshops are kind of awkward, just to be honest, in a non.
I was about to ask you about that specifically. Is there a better time of day?
Because I usually when you have a workshop, you eat, and when you have it on a Zoom meeting, you don't really want to break out your lunch at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I don't think lunch times are the most, and I don't know, Lindsay, you and we're on demand during the day. I don't know. So that's my.
What do we think? What we have, Lindsay, best time for you, best time of day.
Either first thing in the morning or after 5 o'clock, or
I'm
I'd even
with
give
you.
up a Saturday.
I'm with you on all those.
I'm
Saturdays are tough for me because I'm usually
Parenting.
busy.
Yeah.
I'm flexible, so I'm good with whatever.
Mike, that's a good point. Thank you. Vance, you good? How early in the morning can we
6
do?
a.m. I want 6 a.m. at Denny's.
Fine with me.
Yeah. I've got a 5:45 Bible study in the morning, so I'm good. So do
I
you
haven't been to a
prefer-
Denny's in 20 years, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a drive-through by then. But are we okay with and I'm making this up, Lindsay, help me out here. Can we do an 8 o'clock?
I'm okay with that.
Michael?
I would. I've got two
Timed
different.
up your morning.
I've got two different sets of kids that get to school that I usually take one set.
Yeah.
So, and that is at 9. So I would. For me, 9:30 is about. I could do it. Stacy
Well,
will just have to run around,
we
but
can
9:30 would be the preference.
We could always
of
do
something.
it at night. We could do this, to keep Robert from having to hang around, all night to accommodate any Zoom stuff. Can we, I'll work around all you guys. I'm very easy. Just don't let me drink coffee. Okay. So, get with,
Maria's already texted.
Maria has good.
So one of the things, and Dale, I didn't think about this is, if we do look at a Saturday, we're dragging in all the
I know
people. So
I know I'm trying to stay away from Saturday.
yeah.
But because I want all of your attention when we have it. You know what I mean? Because this will be some of the most, substantive, stuff we've ever talked about here. And
Why don't we? Why don't we shoot for the first week of September? Is that Labor Day? First week of September. Is that Labor Day?
So Labor Day's Monday the 7th, and
It's a week
then
late.
It's what?
it's a week late this year, she's saying, Labor Day.
Okay.
So it's the
I was
7th.
just trying to, yeah. I mean, I was trying to think of doing something on a normally scheduled, like our off week, but at a 6:30 at night, but just on an off week. But the way that falls this year is problematic just because of Labor Day. But
Well, again, we're talking about having Larry and Scott and the rest of us and staff, whoever needs to be in that workshop to be able to answer questions that we might have.
do we
Yeah,
have
I
to
want-
pay for Larry and Scott for that meeting?
No, we will not.
No.
Okay, I've got to run, but can we put the consultant's report online and reference people to it on our Facebook page?
So only Facebook people can see it?
Well, I mean, that's a start. I just want a link, and I'll blow out the link on my Facebook sites. I'm on like 2 or 3 Dominic Maitland Middle Facebook sites. So
Sorry.
that's all I want is to give people a link that they can click and read the report.
We would need to convert it and make sure it's ADA compliant, but yes, that's not a problem if we can do that. I don't know that the consultants gave it to us in ADA
No.
compliance version, but it's not undoable.
Okay.
I know, Mike, that doing that for ADA accessibility on a website when it's pictures and stuff is hard to do, and
Yeah.
and graphs and tables are also hard to do. I
Color.
don't remember.
But we'll look at it. We could.
I could just go on like the Water Management District and all these other things, and I can pull up reports and read them till the cats come and.
Yeah, until they get the first 2 letters from a lawyer, which we
Well,
already have.
Okay. I mean, we can't give the public information. I mean, that just is bizarre to me.
It
Yeah.
is bizarre.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, we have the software to convert it, and we'll just have to look at it and see what shape it's in.
So Mike, Mr. Thomas, sir, there's nothing stopping you from taking it, scanning it yourself, and then sharing it on those sites. I mean, it's public. It's a public
Public document.
page.
Does a consultant have a digital copy of this that you can send? Yeah, he does. So, okay, well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, if they even could put it on a secured, open, cloud-based link just to the document repository, wherever they're keeping it. And then Mike can share that link individually, personally through his own sources. That's not coming
Right.
off of,
I agree with what Mike is trying to do, though. I understand what you're trying to do, Mike. I think it's a good idea. I get what you're just trying. You're not worried about the median. You're just trying to get it out to as many people as possible.
I'm just trying to let people know this.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a good point. It's a good point. We don't want to get tripped up by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I've got to kind of run. We have a family thing planned here.
All right. Anybody else have any comments, or are we done tonight?
I'm done.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We
Bye,
are
guys.
done. We are done. If Bev were here, she'd be hitting the gavel, hitting the block. So, all right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Be careful.